How's it going, everybody? Alright. Today we are going to be talking about the third phase of the Marvel movies, which is the current phase that we find ourselves in. So, phase 3 is probably the biggest and best overall movies, short of the originals that spawned it with phase 1. So, this is like a debatable thing, but phase 3 we get Civil War, then we get Doctor Strange, we have Guardians 2, then Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, and next we get Avengers Infinity War that comes out this week. Now, phase 3, according to Wikipedia, has several more movies in the catalog, because later this year there's Ant-Man and the Wasp. Next year there will be Captain Marvel with Brie Larson, I think her name is. I want to say it's the chick from Room. So then we have Avengers 4, which they have not revealed the title for, but the Russo brothers have gone on the record saying that the title to Avengers 4 will scare people, and it will be Chris Evans' last appearance as Captain America in the Marvel movie, to my knowledge. I mean, he might end up doing a Spider-Man Homecoming cameo, like that style, where it's just like Captain America appears in a gym class video about student health and fitness and all. Alright, so let's start off with Civil War. Civil War is, like, the full title is Captain America Civil War, but it's such a nebulous, like, whose movie is this? Because it's centered around the Avengers, and the two important characters are Captain America and Tony Stark. You have, as the Civil War implies, Cap on one side and Tony on the other. And a friend of mine is very much against serious Tony Stark, because we want Robert Downey Jr. to be snarky, we want him to be fun, we want him to be drinky. That's what we want, and we don't get that with this movie so much, because the plot of the movie is they have to track down the bomber of some world nation's meeting that ends up killing T'Chaka, king of Wakanda, and the person they believe that did it is Bucky, but we know Bucky didn't do it, because we know that the like fairly creepy, like not creepy, but just like you know how like people have presence on screen. The guy who plays Baron Zemo has that. He has that presence, and you're not entirely sure like what he's capable of or what his motivations are, but you do know that by the end of the movie. And so what was it, this movie is very good. This is, I forget how I put it in the other videos, but like I could say this is definitely top 10, maybe not top 5, but pretty damn good. You have the setup where it's like Cap is very distrustful of authority after finding out that S.H.I.E.L.D. was infested with Hydra. So he's been going off on his own. Like, that's how he wants the Avengers to be. And when they say, all right, Age of Ultron, you guys dropped an entire city onto a country, and it was because of something that you guys created. So like, we're taking you guys under government control. Like you guys are just too powerful. Like, the people coming out are just too powerful. So Tony Stark is like, man, I got Viola Davis like giving me shit in the hallway because her son is dead because we couldn't save him, and I created Ultron, so I'm really like for this like Sokovia Accords. So the fight is pretty much resolved on that front before things get into motion. Like, Captain America, I'll retire. Meanwhile, Bucky gets framed, and then because Bucky gets framed, Cap like comes out of retirement, and he's like, well, he's my friend, I gotta do something. And he brings with him the Falcon, and you're not entirely sure who's on his side until like things happen, but the Falcon brings in Ant-Man, and I think like Jeremy Renner was with Cap, like Hawkeye sided with Cap. I think one of the things was that Hawkeye always sides with Cap, or close to it. Forget potholes. Anyway, so that means on Tony Stark's side, you get Black Widow, you get Vision, you get at the start Scarlet Witch. No, at the start you get Scarlet Witch, but you get War Machine and Thor and Hulk were not in this movie, but you'll get something from them in the meantime. So then Cap, like Black Panther shows up in this movie. This is the film debut of Black Panther, and Black Panther kind of got screwed over by Spider-Man in this one because Sony comes to Marvel and says, or I don't even know who came to who, but I can only imagine like the amount of like arm twisting and gymnastics that had to happen in a phone booth so that these two companies could share Spider-Man. It's like, hey, we do a really bad job with the Spider-Man, and I know you guys want him, so how about this? We'll give you guys resources, we'll give you guys this, you let us handle the Spider-Man franchise, and he can play in your shared universe. Deal? And they're like, deal. So, and I don't even know if that's accurate, so if you guys want to check me on that, go right ahead. I don't know the specifics of how the Spider-Man deal works. So, the big fight that happens between both sides is glorious, and it's out of place. Like, the whole tone of the movie is pretty serious, but like you just enjoy the hell out of that scene because it's fun. Like it's like friends fighting friends and stuff like that, and then the party ends really quickly when War Machine gets shot down, and I'm trying to remember who shot him down. I want to say it was Falcon, and like that moment to me was more fun, or not more fun, but more like chilling, like more gripping than the whole fight, because it was like, yes, of course the one side's gonna get away, yes, of course, whatever, but it was fun in the process. Don't get me wrong, it was fun, but like when War Machine falls down to the ground and Tony Stark is hanging over him, and Falcon is like, I'm sorry, dude, and it's like, bang. Like, if you told me the Falcon died in that shot right there, I'd believe you. So, the Spider-Man stuff, like, this was the first time we got a true Spider-Man on film. We got genius Peter Parker, who's really good at school, but he's got Spider-Man to deal with, so he's like, it's affecting his life. We have the web shooters, we have the spider sense, we have everything that we want. Like, and it's great. And it has everything we don't want. Like, we've gotten the Uncle Ben origin twice. We're not doing it a third time, thank God. Marissa Tomei is playing Aunt May, and like, it was just Marissa Tomei, like, they're playing her just old enough that she's like a mature woman, but Tony Stark will still hit it. And like, Black Panther was supposed to be like the big like Black Panther was done right. Like his motivation's clear, it's good characterization, and you could really see Civil War as so many things. It could be Captain America 3. It could be Iron Man 3.5. It could be Baron Zemo 0. It could be Black Panther 0. It could be Spider-Man 0. So they got in this. When I found out that Infinity War was going to be directed by the guys that did Civil War, who was the same guys that directed Winter Soldier, I had no issues. Like, when Joss Whedon was announced as the director for Avengers and the writer, there was doubt. Like, it sounds stupid to say it out loud now, but there was doubt at the time that they weren't sure if he could elevate the material or come up with material in general that made things work. So when the Russos came on board, like, I think their first movie was Monkey Bone or something like that, or maybe I'm getting it wrong. Maybe it was like the first guy that directed the first Captain America movie that did Monkey Bone, but I don't know. One of the Captain America directors did Monkey Bone, and there's only been two teams that, or one guy or one team that did it. So one of them did Monkey Bone. So Marvel got their guys for the big movies, and Infinity War and Avengers 4, I have no concerns whatsoever about the quality, because these guys know how to make things work. And the fact that there's so many people like just like watching out for this, which can be a problem. I mean, like, some guys don't like their toes to get stepped on, and like, they'll like protect their investment on their franchises, but so far it's worked out pretty good. So Civil War, Baron Zemo is one of the better villains in the Marvel Universe. I'm not gonna say top 3, but he's like he succeeded. He wanted to split apart the Avengers, and he did. And he found something that I don't think they hinted at early on, but it was like kind of obvious, but still kind of like a buddy of mine that he said he saw it coming. Like, I was pleasantly surprised. The other thing that gets me in this movie is the like the small scenes. It's like when the maid comes into his room and you're not entirely sure if he's gonna kill her, because like Robert Redford, like, he killed the maid and this guy didn't. So with the villain, it's great. The action was good. The setup story, everything made sense. There's probably a couple plot holes in there or two, but like, it's a good Marvel movie, and it's a good movie in general. So that brings us to Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is it's a hard sell to people, because like, the comics, there's been professionals like that have gone on to say that Doctor Strange never works. Like, no one can get it to work, and I think they got it. I think they got it to work in this one because of two reasons. One, they all cast the actor that everybody wanted. Everyone wanted to see Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, and Benedict Cumberbatch was Doctor Strange. However, Benedict Cumberbatch has the problem of every time we see him, we always see Benedict Cumberbatch. Like, it's not that he's a bad actor, he's a great actor. He does the characters particularly well, but it's just that the guy looks too particular. Like, every time I see Benedict Cumberbatch, I see Sherlock Holmes, or I see, I don't know, it's like, I was watching August Osage County, it's like, oh, this is a dumb version of Sherlock Holmes, eh? And when he's Doctor Strange, like, there's, he was great, but he wasn't perfect. He was a better Doctor Strange in Thor Ragnarok than he was in Doctor Strange. And the movie itself was good. But it's, like, what was great about Doctor Strange was when he's leading up to the enlightening section where he learns his powers, or he learns magic. Leading up to that was great because he's this arrogant doctor. He's more concerned about his record than than actually saving lives, and some of that does carry over. Like, he still manages to stay like, he doesn't solve the problems, he just he fixes the situation, because his fight with Dormammu was well written, but it wasn't particularly memorable, because, like, they had him dying like about 5 or 6 times in a time loop, and like that was a good idea, because Doctor Strange is not the I'm gonna beat you to death guy. He is the I'm gonna think my way out of this. And when he's being attacked by the guys that turn into the mindless ones, because that was a night. Like, I will say this: if after Thanos we do not have a intergalactic, cosmic villain, I'm fine with Dormammu. I'm fine with Mystical. I'm fine with Marvel trying to bring back Blade. I'm fine with them trying to do the Midnight Suns in some capacity. And if they want it, like, pull from the Mystic, I'm good with that, because it's trippy, it's fun, and like, they can do it in a way that the comics would be difficult. Like, because you can draw a visual and you can, like, animate a visual, and when you do it in a movie, there's less. It's when you have real people doing it, or even CG going on. Like, there's like a ready to accept things. Like, when people draw it and it's not moving, it's just static, it's harder to interpret, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not saying that it can't be done, it's just that it's harder. Like tell an artist to make a comic book using like the imagery from the world where things are just like folding on top of each other and all that stuff. Give them a heart attack. So gotta learn to grab underneath and all that stuff. Alright, so after Doctor Strange came Guardians 2. And yep, Guardians 2. Guardians 2 has Age of Ultron symptoms, in that they took a lot of set pieces that are interconnected and they didn't jam them all together, but certain things got undercut by the comedy that they were going for. Like that balance that they had in the first Guardians was not there. I think that if they had just had Ego as the villain and not necessarily Star-Lord's father, I think it still would have worked. But that's up to them. I mean, like, it works either way, but it was just one more thing to focus on, and it was so not paper thin, but it was like almost knee jerk. Because like, I trust you, like I don't trust you, let's fight, or I don't trust you, I trust you. Oh my God, you killed my mother, die. Like that's how herky jerky it was, and like the feels are real with things, and like years later, like one more thing got spoiled on Guardians in that everyone thought that Groot from Guardians 1 just ended up in a plant and like in a smaller version of himself. It was just, you know, growing back and all that stuff. Guardians 2, you get Baby Groot, and Baby Groot is adorable. Baby Groot will be like a cosplay fixture for like time going forward. But the director, James Gunn, revealed that no, in Guardians 1, Groot died, and Guardians 2, it wasn't Baby Groot as in Groot as a baby, it was like Groot's son as Baby Groot, and everyone flipped their minds. Because like I just thought like he's from the same stick or whatever, and he still talks the same, so we don't speak I am Groot to people, so that's how that went. And years later, people were still shocked. But with Guardians, everything is good, but somehow the sum of the parts does not equal a like, it brings down things as a whole, because I think certain stylistic choices of Guardians carried over, and it didn't work as well. It was good music, but it wasn't. The music itself kind of detracted from the moments because the pacing was off. And like, the one issue I had with the movie in general was, in the first one, Rocket had a good story, Groot had a good story, Drax had a good story, Gamora had a good story, Quill had a good story. In the second one, Quill had an okay story. It was kind of like, it was like, okay, that was fast. Gamora was like, oh, okay. You're just there. I mean, like, anyone could have done her stuff, except with like the stuff that she had with her sister, which, like, they kind of like just threw it in there because, like, we have access to Karen Gillan, let's use her. Drax was Drax, but they introduced Mantis, and like, her and Drax like had good chemistry together for the screen. Then they made Yondu and Rocket a story, and like, they made Yondu the dad of the group, and like, I'm not denying that it's a good movie. It's just that I have issues with it, and like the fact that like so many things got undercut by jokes, and I think this was one of the first movies that people weren't saying it, but like, they were tired of CG battles. Like the the first movie, when the 5 of them were trying to capture each other, was awesome because minimal CG, even though it could have been surrounded on a green screen and like interplaying with each other, like with everything CG'd out, but it was still characters versus characters. It's like this one, you had characters versus freaking rocks in a planet, and plus like the asides where it was like you have like it kind of like it was kind of fun when Groot was dancing and like they're fighting the monster or the alien that was coming after the batteries, but when like Rocket's trying to tell Groot don't press the button and they're like hold on, anyone have any tape? Like, it's a good scene, but it like it was just like for me it affected the pacing in the movie just a little bit, like. And then like they have like this overly sentimental ending, which like it was done well, but it had too much of that feel-good movie feel. And like my rule of thumb with everything is, you're doing good work if no one knows you did it. And with that last scene, I saw what they were doing, and it's like, okay, we're gonna feel something. It's like, okay, we're gonna like have a reason for Sylvester Stallone and all these really good actors to like either be in the third movie or be like in movies, period. So after Guardians came out and it was Spider-Man Homecoming, and this movie is not controversial, but like there's certain things that you want out of a Spider-Man movie, and like Marvel didn't have to do an origin story for it, because let's face it, like Batman and Spider-Man, we know how the things got started. We just do. So with Spider-Man Homecoming, it was about a kid wanting to be bigger than what he was. Like you know how like kids want to drive, or kids want to like drink or whatever, like when they're younger, they want to like get to that adult status. And with this movie, it's about Peter Parker wanting to be an Avenger, and Tony Stark practically ghosting him. And there's so many like fun comic book stuff in this movie that I just enjoyed. So this is one of my favorite movies of Phase 3. And they got the comedy of Spider-Man down, in that it's serious, but that like there's like Donald Glover, like he gets his captured or whatever, and he gets captured by Spider-Man as he's leaving like a supermarket, and he was like, oh, come on, man, I got ice cream in the car, I can't hang around here for an hour. So the like little moments like that, or Peter Parker in the suburbs and he can't use his webbing, so he has to run through all the backyards because there's nothing he can swing through. Which, by the way, was an actual comic book event. I'm not saying event as in it was like it was a big thing, but like if you look online, you can actually take the issue that they got the idea from. And they're self-aware enough. It's like, hey, isn't this like Ferris Bueller? So it's like, okay, we're gonna have the Ferris Bueller music, and we're gonna show Ferris Bueller on TV. Like, we're gonna let you know that we're not reinventing the wheel, that we are self-aware. So the set pieces were good. because you know how I was saying, like, I'm tired of CG environments being the bad guys. This one was Spider-Man. Now this is the final battle. Now Spider-Man in a suit that's not really a suit. It's the old costume he started with. This is not the Tony Stark Iron Man suit that he got. This is like jeans, a hoodie, goggles, and gloves. And Peter Parker has to stop the Vulture from stealing Stark's supply of technology. And it's just a guy versus another guy in an environment, and there's tension. And the fact that they save the Vulture at the end, or Peter saves the Vulture, and even though the guy's trying to, like, he doesn't know that he's he can die, is like, that is Spider-Man. Like, that's how comic book movies should go. Like, you don't have to kill every villain every time just because you're not sure you can get them back if there's ever a sequel with them. So, Spider-Man Homecoming, and the one gripe that I will have about Spider-Man Homecoming is I have no problem with Zendaya. I have no problem with her character being the love interest. I have nothing wrong with that. But it felt cheap to just tack on there, well, my friends call me MJ. I was like, really? So, like, and plus, if you're gonna turn her into the Mary Jane equivalent, fine. Just don't turn her into Mary Jane, because, like, it's not that I want like a white redheaded chick to be Mary Jane. I mean, that's not what I'm asking. But, like, if you're gonna, like, go straight to Mary Jane, and, like, the Liz Allen stuff, that stuff worked. They combined a few things. Like, they took a couple ideas. Like, I think in the comics, the Vulture does have a daughter that, like, there's been certain roles, like, here and there. I can't keep track of all the continuities and all the issues. I'm not that big of a Spider-Man fan, but I do know that there's, like, the Liz Allen car ride to the dance. Holy, that was like, that was one of the high points of, like, this is why I love these, especially the Spider-Man concept of, like, Spider-Man was not, I'm not saying friends, but I think in certain stories, Spider-Man was like a lab assistant to Dr. Ock, or like, he was a part of the scientific community, so there was a respect of the scientific ability between Peter Parker and Dr. Octopus. It's not like Dr. Octopus was Dr. Doom, where, now this is depending on who's writing him, so let's keep that in mind. So, with the Spider-Man Homecoming, we got a lot of great, like growing up stuff, like growing up with superpower stuff, and you got a great Iron Man moment at the end, because I'm really happy that Jon Favreau cast himself as Happy Hogan, and they kept him around, and they didn't kill him off in the previous movies, so we could get the Peter Parker Happy Hogan interplay that we got, because the great thing about Spider-Man Homecoming was that the comedy did not undercut the story going on. Like Thor Ragnarok and Guardians 2, like, the jokes got in the way of the movie sometimes, and that was, like, my criticism with that. So after Spider-Man Homecoming, we get Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok might be in my top 3 movies. Top 5 for sure. Because you get the villain that you know can kick the hero's ass. You have the fun stuff. It is the most Jack Kirby comic book movie I've ever seen, because when they go to the junk world, the stuff going on was awesome. Like the visuals, everything was Kirby. Like everything was Kirby. The performances were great. Like Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie. Those shots, those little bits where it's like the memory scenes, where the way everything looked like a Dutch master's painting, or like trying not Reuben, everything looked like the best kind of oil painting, like come to life, with like the flight of the Valkyries and all that, going after Hela, like that. Those shots were even though they were in the trailer, like when I actually saw them in the movie, I was like, how the hell did they get that done? And like I just love that. I loved that this one, because everyone didn't know when they said, oh, Thor's gonna get a 3rd movie. Everyone was kind of groaning a little bit, just because, like, of course Thor is gonna get like a 3rd movie, but it's like after Thor: The Dark World, it was like, yeah, that one was kind of boring. Then but I so wish they marketed this movie differently. I wish they had managed to keep the biggest draw of Thor Ragnarok secret and let people be surprised by that, because if they had managed to keep that secret instead of just putting it right in the trailer, or I'm trying to think of when it happened, because there was test footage leaked for a Hulk in a movie, and they didn't know what it was going to be for, and then people were saying, oh, this is for Thor 3, that the Hulk test footage is in there. And I was like, God damn it, because that would have been awesome. So what you get in Thor Ragnarok is part Planet Hulk, part Led Zeppelin, like Thor, because Thor swinging his hammer, Kirby. The way he carries himself, Kirby. The visuals, Kirby. The fact that Beta Ray Bill was in the movie as a sculpture in one of the buildings, like he was like on the Mount Rushmore on the one part. Awesome. The one dude that Carl Urban played, like he played him as like sort of a dork, but in the comics, that guy had one of the most, like it was a Walt Simonson story, one of the most epic last moments I have ever seen. It's like, you guys go on ahead, I got this. It's like you're going up against an unstoppable army. It's like, don't worry, I got this. And with AK-47s, and just like is taking on this army of bugs that are going to come after and kill him, and like you see a fade to white where he's just like with empty guns, he's using them as clubs and just beating these this unstoppable force back. And they couldn't redo that in the movie because it's like totally different set of circumstances, but they did their best to recreate it, and that part gave me that put a smile on my face. So Thor also, like, you also see the ramp up going towards Infinity War with that. And like I said before, the Doctor Strange stuff with Thor, like, just shows you how powerful Doctor Strange is, because, like, he takes care of Loki in 30 seconds, easily, and, like, with Thor, he manages to, just, handle him well, like, giving him a giant thing of beer that refills itself. Like, every time, like, they teleport, Thor just, like, keeps bumbling into things and, like, looks he wants to throw up. But it was good until, like, it was like, well, don't forget your umbrella. Meanwhile, bang, bang, boom, bang, bang, like, everything's being destroyed in the house because, like, the hammer can't travel in a straight line. So grabs the umbrella, which is actually Molinor, and like I said before, I really hope Kat Dennings is in Infinity War just for a second, just because I would love to get a Kat Dennings line, because she was my favorite part of Thor 2. So, Thor Ragnarok, great score, great directing. Hemsworth has said that he wants to continue, and I feel bad that if like the next couple of Avengers movies, they do not have more Hemsworth as Thor, just because I would love to get an equivalent, equally as good sequel to Thor Ragnarok in whatever version, because I know there was one story where Thor brings Odenheim, Asgard. He brings Asgard to Oklahoma. I would love to get that, because we sort of got it with Thor 1, in that Thor gets sent to the middle of nowhere, and he interacts with the people. I would love to get that on a grander scale, done by the same guys that did Thor Ragnarok. And plus, I also love that there's 2 Thor bats out there at the end of it that you're not entirely sure if they're dead, because you have Surtur, who is like the fire guy that burns up everything, and you have Hela, who is his sister and all that, and you don't see her dead, you just see the planet explode. So I mean, Loki drifted through space, I'm sure she can too. So I'm looking forward to that in the future, if they decide to go that way. Or I'm not saying like Surtur is easy, he's a CGI guy that you just have Clancy Brown voice, and Hela, if you want to like recast her or something, like instead of Kate Blanchett, you just get, I don't know, like new Australian chick, whatever, from New Zealand maybe, who knows. So that one is definitely one of my top movies, just because, like, from start to finish, it was good. But like I said before, the comedy kind of undercuts the seriousness of it. So let's see. After Thor Ragnarok, we get Black Panther, and Black Panther is proof that moviegoers, black moviegoers, and people in general that like aren't exactly represented by like white people, will spend their money, and they will spend their money repeatedly, because I'm not sure Infinity War makes more money than Black Panther. I'm not sure. Infinity War is going to be big. It's going to be the #1 movie for at least 3 weeks, because they moved it from May 5th to April 27th, and that gives them 3 weeks before Deadpool 2 hits. And because everyone said when they found out that Avengers was going to be on May 5th, they were like, we ain't putting our movie up against that. Like, we will put up like something counter programming that does not like that will not be the in the same wheelhouse as Avengers. But so Disney's gonna have 3 weeks of just crazy openings, and there's gonna be a lot of good publicity. It's been good publicity so far. I know I've heard that all screenings of Infinity War is 20 minutes shorter than the actual movie. Like, once it premieres on the 27th, that's when they're going to, because Disney is keeping this thing locked down. Like, I know a Disney employee that got to see unfinished versions of some of the Marvel movies and some of the Star Wars movies. They have not seen hide nor hair of Infinity War, and the screening that they are going to get is after the premiere. So they are taking this seriously. So I'm willing to bet someone dies in the first 20 minutes. That's really important. And I'm willing to bet like the characters that you really care about, they do not want it spoiled that they're gone. So, but anyway, Black Panther. Black Panther has one of the better villains, and it has one of the better scripts. This is sort of like the anti-Marvel movie almost, in that, yes, it plays off a lot of the superheroic stuff, but it's like the stuff that goes on around the superheroic stuff is like why you're watching, because let's face it, the car chase was kind of boring. The big fight scene at the end where it's like all the tribes are fighting each other, kind of boring. I will say the rhinos was a nice touch, and a lot of people love the movie because it wasn't like, if they had done Black Panther as one black guy and a whole bunch of white people in the cast, certain people would have been pissed. Story or no story, they would have been pissed, because like if they had done it like a Wesley Snipes movie or a Denzel Washington movie where it's like one black dude and a whole cast of white people, like, people would have been pissed. So when they did the movie, Wakanda played a huge part of it. Like, I like the Wakanda stuff. I like the technology. I like the inner workings of it, because that's where the script comes in. It was a smart done script. I compared it to a Shakespeare play. It's either Richard or Alan. Alan the Second or Richard the Second. It's like when Shakespeare wrote the play, the audience knew something that they didn't explicitly state in the play, in the movie. So with Black Panther, it was like Killmonger, the villain, was the son of T'Chaka's brother, who was living in Oakland, who wanted to arm black people and start up a revolution to make up for the injustices of society. And they don't say it out loud in the movie, but everyone in the audience is like, I'm kind of rooting for him. But you realize, like the man only knows violence to solve things, and like one of my favorite parts of the movie is it's like how do we help people, because we are in the position to help people. And because you have T'Challa's not girlfriend, because she doesn't want to be his girl, but like I can't remember her name, but and you have the people around him that like they have their own motivations for what they do and like their own sense of duty and all that stuff. So like the moment where the woman who plays Michonne on Walking Dead, it's harder to recognize her because I think she walks around with her actual haircut and all that stuff in this movie. Denai Guerrera. I'm definitely butchering that, but she's an incredible actress, and the way she handles her business is fine. And like, there's definitely a cut of this movie that's longer, and like they definitely get into more topics, but it's like, and plus this movie did a lot of things better than the comics did, because certain things in the comics are cringeworthy. Winston Duke plays M'Baku in the movie. In the comics, his name is M'Baku, but his supervillain name is Man-Ape. Yes, they're gonna have a guy named Man-Ape, played by a black man, in 2018. Yeah, let's see how that turns out. And they did it wisely, they did it smartly, they had it be more than what it was. But the reason why Black Panther is not like a perfect movie, even though it's good, it is really good. Like the CG fight scene at the end of it, between Killmonger and Black Panther, was boring. The animation on it was not great. The main issue I think Black Panther has is that I think when Spider-Man Homecoming came out before it, some of the budget concerns got diverted to Spider-Man, and like how is it that movie came out, like, let's see, Civil War came out in 2016 and Black Panther came out 2 years later. Like, you know, they were planning it before Civil War was done. So let's say they had 3+ years. It's like, you're telling me you had 3+ years and you managed to make it look rushed? Like, god damn. So, and it can't be, I don't know the inner workings, because Industrial Lights and Magic, I believe, does the majority of the Marvel movies, because I know they did it with Iron Man. I know they did it with, I want to say they did it with Guardians, but I think they did it with Black Panther, but I'm not entirely sure. So I don't know how, like, and plus you have Disney resources, so it's like, you're telling me the Pixar people couldn't like find you a better animators for the fight? And plus, that's just the execution of it. Like, it was flawed from the premise. Like, when you have Killmonger in the golden Black Panther suit versus Black Panther T'Challa in the silver Black Panther suit, like, you're taking two figures that don't have faces, that are not really animated that well, and they're in a CG environment to begin with. It was like, ah, damn. So the fight, when there was like real people, like at the waterfall, those 3 fights, or not even 3, 1, 2, the 2 fights at the waterfall were better than that last fight, and it was better than the ensuing battle that was going on. And that, like, that's why Black Panther, to me, is not the perfect movie, but it's good. Like I said before, it's Winter Soldier, it's Avengers, it's Thor Ragnarok, it's Black Panther. It's like 6 or it's 5 or 6 on my list. I'm trying to think of if I would put Black Panther at 4 if I'm gonna put Winter Soldier, Thor Ragnarok, and Avengers, whatever. Then maybe Spider-Man Homecoming would be 5, or Civil War. Like, those would be 5 and 6. Like, 5 would be a tie between Civil War and Spider-Man. So, with all this being said, that brings us to Infinity War. And Infinity War is coming out, by the time you guys watch this, it's coming out tomorrow, which is, I'm putting this out on the 26th, and it's coming out on the 27th. So if you're watching this the day it's posted, it's coming out tomorrow. Afterwards, it came out on the 27th, or it's already out. So Infinity War is not the end of Phase 3. Avengers 4 is, and I'm liking that they're ending the phase on Avengers 4 as opposed to what they did with the Phase 2, which was Ant-Man, which was like really Ant-Man? Like, this is like, that was like the problem I had with, like, that's why I thought Ant-Man should have been Phase 3, or it's like, well, we got to do Ant-Man to set up Civil War, so it's like, here we go, let's go. Because with Infinity War, we're getting Thanos finally, and one of the problems that this movie's been facing is we're excited for it, like, because it's almost here, but like, you know, when like Christmas is coming, and like the month before, like the moment Thanksgiving is over, you're like, Christmas is coming. Or hell, like nowadays, if you walk into a store the day after Halloween, not even the day after, like the week before Halloween, like they're starting to put up Christmas stuff. It's like, yeah, you better start thinking about this, because everyone's so excited for it. I'm not getting that feeling with Infinity War. Some things happened that I think screwed around with it. For one, Fox got sold off a lot of their IPs to Disney, and those IPs include the X-Men, they include the Fantastic Four, they include anything like that Fox was working on for the films. And with that, everyone was like, well, you know, they're gonna bring in the X-Men next, they're gonna do Deadpool, they're gonna do all that stuff, like they're all gonna be Disney run now, so you can start doing crossovers. And I don't know how that's gonna work, because I'm sure they're gonna throw out certain things and they're gonna keep others, because they're not messing with Deadpool. They are not. That makes, like, if Deadpool 2 doesn't fail to live up to expectations, they're gonna keep, Disney's gonna keep it, like, Disney is going to make R-rated superhero movies. It's that simple. They might recast the X-Men, I don't know. Ever since it's gone down, certain things have been pushed back. New Mutants would have been out this month, but it's not. It got pushed back several months. I think they're reshooting things. So I don't know if they're just gonna, like, start with, like, certain properties and work their way into it, or they're just gonna say, hey, this is not in the current universe, this is something we're gonna work around, like, we're just not gonna deal with it. We're gonna take the Warner Brothers approach to superheroes. So that's why I think Infinity War is, like, not as hyped up as everyone kind of like would like it to be, because they're looking past it already. We know that, and I don't even know how Infinity War is going to end, because Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out in a couple months, and are they doing a prequel to Infinity War, or like is the fallout already going to have happened? Like, so there's that. And Infinity War in general is going to be big, because they're bringing in Thanos, who was teased in the end of Phase 1 with the Avengers, and you got a little bit of him with Guardians 1 in Phase 2, and he was referenced in Guardians 2 and all that stuff. And at the end of Thor Ragnarok, you saw a ship, and you know it's Thanos' ship, come on now. And the people I'm expecting to die in Infinity War, just based on where their story's been going, like the fact that they're probably going to move on from the characters, is I'm willing to bet Loki gets put in. I'm not even saying dead, because the comic books, dead is not dead. Like, dead is we can't come up with a good story to tell right now, so we're just going to put them on the shelf. So Iron Man cost them a lot of money, because Robert Downey Jr. Has the best deal out of all of them, and so I expect Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, to have like moments where we're pretty sure they're like done in. The people I know they're not touching, they're going to mess with Spider-Man, but they're not going to kill Spider-Man, because they went. But here's the thing. This is the Infinity Stones we're talking about. Now, the Infinity Gems, I'm going to call them for now, because people don't understand the concept of like gems or stones. So the Infinity Gems is these artifacts that have been throughout all the movies. The Space Stone was in the Tesseract in Captain America 1 and Avengers. Then the red stuff in Thor: The Dark World was another stone, which wasn't time. I don't even know. It could have been the Reality Stone, just for like the sake of argument, because like that's the only one I could think of. Like it, and I don't even know what the way it was featured. Like the Reality Stone, like I don't know what it was supposed to do. Because Space Stone, you can power things, and plus, like Loki's scepter from Avengers had the Mind Stone in it, which was like now on Vision's head, and that's another guy right there. Paul Bettany has been the voice of Jarvis since Iron Man 1, so he's been around as long as Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. has. He's been a voice in all the movies. He was Jarvis. He's also been Vision for the past couple of years, so there's that. There's the Time Stone, which is in the Eye of Agamotto, which is in Doctor Strange's possession right now. So when Thanos comes to collect all the stones, these are the people that he's going to have to go through. Like, he's going to have to go through Vision. He's going to have to go through Doctor Strange, and he's going to have to. I think he gets Loki in the beginning of the movie, because like Loki had the Tesseract, so like on Thor's ship. That's why I think he shows up at the end, because Loki used the Tesseract to teleport onto the ship. Like, you saw him do that in Thor Ragnarok. So, with that being said, there was the Power Stone that's in the Nova Core, and there's 5 stones. So, Tesseract, the Ethereum, the Power Stone, Time Stone, and the last stone is the Soul Stone. And no one knows where the hell that thing is. There's a theory going around that it's in Wakanda, that it's in the original meteorite that crash landed on Earth, and it's encased in vibranium, or that the vibranium is a product of the Soul Stone being buried. Because think about this: in Black Panther, there's this one flower that grows out of the ground that allows you to see your ancestors in the astral plane, and because you can see your ancestors in the astral plane, it's possible that it's just properties of the Soul Stone in the ground creating flowers. I'm gonna find out tomorrow if that's true or not. So let's see. So if the Soul Stone is in Wakanda, might explain why Thanos attacks Wakanda, because that's definitely in the trailer. And let me talk about the trailers. I am tired of trailers nowadays giving me stuff that's in the movies. So first trailer, we don't get much. We get that Spider-Man's hair stands on end. So further proves that he has a spider sense, because everyone was like, well, we didn't get a scene saying that he had spider sense. So it's no, we got it in Civil War, you twits. Pay attention. God damn it. I know they say that audiences aren't as smart as they like to think they are, but damn. So, first trailer, we don't get much. Second trailer, I think we got too much. Because we got action shots, we got no idea what was going on. We didn't see any of the villains, we didn't see any of Thanos' bad guys, because he's not doing it all himself. And the first trailer, you get Thor talking to the Guardians of the Galaxy in the last second. So it's hey, everything will be tied together that we've had thus far. Remember what Avengers did for Phase 1? Avengers 3, Infinity War, is going to do, for all the movies, what Avengers 1 did for Phase 1. So this is going to be the focal point of everything going forward. And then we're going to have Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then we're going to have Avengers 4, which I have no idea what it is. Because supposing that everything gets taken care of in this movie, which I doubt, because when they started filming, they filmed Avengers 3 and 4 back-to-back. So while they're working on Avengers 3, they're also working on Avengers 4, and right now they're doing all the stuff for Avengers 4, which we don't even know the title of. So when I see the Avengers will return in Avengers whatever the hell it's called, which I'm putting it on the record right now, I'm going with the Dissembled, or Avengers Lost, or Avengers Reborn, just because this is the prime opportunity to gracefully shuffle off people. Robert Downey Jr., something happens to you and Pepper, you go off and live your lives. Spider-Man, there's only a handful of characters that I know that they're not screwing around with. They're not screwing around with Black Panther. They're not screwing around with Spider-Man. They're not screwing around with, let's see, Guardians of the Galaxy. We know they're getting a third one, but Guardians is a team book, or a team story. They might mess around with the core cast. Or they're going to add to them. I mean, James Gunn has said on the record that Adam Warlock will not be a part of Infinity War. So, that's going to be in Phase 4 in Guardians 3. So, but we can't take him at his word. Things change. They can lie to us. Or they can make decisions again. like there were so many unknowns with Avengers 4, which, because it was supposed to be Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, but they changed the name of it because they were different movies. So I don't know the deal with that. Like, Infinity War, I could wager that Thanos is the main character and everyone else is just like side characters. And the second trailer, when we got the Doctor Strange Spider-Man quip, and we got the Peter Quill Iron Man quip, because Iron Man is definitely smarter than Peter Quill, but Peter Quill has access to technology that surpasses Tony Stark's. So it's like, I just happen to have these things that are so much better than yours. And like Rocket might actually be smarter than Tony Stark too. I know they've gone on the record and said that the smartest character in the Marvel Universe right now is, I believe her name is Zuri, who is T'Challa's sister, who is probably a fan of World Star because she says, "What are those?" All right, guys. The only two things that I'm sure about is that Phase 4 has Spider-Man Homecoming, the sequel, and Guardians 3. That's the only two things I'm aware of. I know they're going to do a Black Panther 2 because it made maybe $1 billion already. So they're not screwing around with that. And I think the opening for Infinity War is going to be bigger than Black Panther, because you're going to have the Black Panther people that just saw Black Panther, and you're going to have more people that are like, all right, this is an event, we got to see what's going on. Like, this could be the viral superhero movie, because it could be so different than all the rest, but I don't know for sure. So, I'm really looking forward to this. I want to thank everyone for watching this, and I'll let you guys know what I think on Friday night. Peace.